Are Chinese robots about to outpace the world with their latest tech upgrades? It turns out Chinese robots are receiving major upgrades, making them more agile and more efficient. And it matters because it positions China as a significant player in the global robotics market, potentially altering industry standards. Today's video is brought to you by Brain.fm, science-backed focus music that sounds great, by the way. You can check it out, linked up down below. As someone who has traditionally focused on Apple-related content, I'm seeing this flood of robotics companies coming to market, doing amazing things, and I can't help but in the back of my head being like, what if Apple, the Apple of old, the Apple that got me into Apple and got me all excited about Apple, had kept with the times and had made an Apple robot? In my mind, if they had, it would have looked something probably like Optimus from Tesla. But it's crazy how companies like Unitree, which is a Chinese company, have just surpassed anything that I could even imagine that Apple would be able to do. I mean, in the future, in the next couple years, when you think tech, you're increasingly going to be thinking robot, because it's sort of the intersection of hardware, cool hardware, and software in terms of AI coming together. And in the past, when I thought about cool hardware, I defaulted to Apple. But we're in a new generation here where hardware isn't just smartphones, smartwatches, tablets, computers like this, where increasingly it is going to be robots and AI powered, because in the future, AI is going to be able to be very adaptable. And maybe instead of, like a Siri that you talk to on your phone or something, which, let's be honest, Siri is not as smart as people wish it would be. That's been the case for a long time. You just had like a C3PO like droid right next to you that you're talking to that can go accomplish things because it's a humanoid robot. And this stuff is coming in a matter of like 3 to 5 years maybe for the average consumer. Now, I gotta say, these robots are very impressive. Now, there's a bunch. I'm just showing off this one particular one, but the things that they can do literally are pretty crazy. A lot of people are thinking that this is amazing. There's a lot of admiration just for the technological leap. There's also a lot of skepticism regarding, number one, the authenticity that's being shown off here, whether or not this is a good thing. If you listen to people who know what they're talking about in the robotic space, they're saying that robots are going to outnumber humans by a huge margin. So in terms of AI, whether that's robots or software, and humans are going to be more in a minority very soon on the planet. So I think another thing that people are saying is like, even though it's impressive, I wish that the US was like maybe the leader here, or anybody in the West even. China is really outdoing a lot of American companies in this department. Now, if you didn't want to outsource just potential components of your supply chain and things like smartphones to overseas companies, then why would you want to do that when it comes to robotics? Things like drones. Now, DJI drones are very capable, for instance. It's like the drone manufacturer that you think of when you think about drones here in the US as well. But if you're thinking about strategic concerns, maybe China wants to have their own drones. Maybe the US needs to have its own drones. I'm sure that China probably wouldn't want their drone market dominated by the US. Why would it make sense for the US to have their drone market dominated by China? Now, that's just drones. Think about robots. One question here is, what about the decision making? What about how these things handle things like ethics? If you've got all these robots roaming around, what's the operating system that they're using? What is their baked in worldview on things? A lot of people are going to push back hard against this. Already, we've heard of AI that's coming to take a lot of jobs. And I think for a lot of people, when they think about that, they think just like AI agents, like software. And to a large extent, there's probably some truth there. And to some other extent, humans are still going to be the ones making creative decisions, picking a direction, handling things like the ethics and morals at the top, at least in some jobs and at least for a while. But a humanoid robot like this has the ability to disrupt jobs that a lot of people would have assumed only humans could handle. People were like, hey, remember when people in Silicon Valley were like, you should learn how to code because then you'll be safe from disruption. And then now AI coding is like becoming a thing, and everyone's like, well, really what you need to do is learn a trade, because that's what's going to be safe from AI for a while. And then you see a bot like this and you're like, oh yeah, that thing could easily be a plumber soon and drive around, get dropped off by an AI robo van or something and handle the plumbing or whatever in different trade aircraft. So there are American companies doing very interesting things in robotics as well. And they're starting to roll these robots out into factory settings, and they're starting to get real world experience being on production lines, building things like cars. And it's not going to be long at all before these become available to the public. And just in case you're curious, this robot here from Unitree is about $28,000 for the US market. So it's a high cost, it's very specialized, but that's right now at the beginning of this robotics revolution. The humanoid robot form factor getting widely dispersed out into the human pool where it's actually going to be encountered all the time. So already it's like the cost of a car, and as that scales up, then the price can come down, and you're gonna just see a future that's gonna feel very Star Wars and sci-fi, where these things are just walking around doing all kinds of things, walking your dog, handling tasks that you don't want to do. Maybe there's some more nefarious purposes, that governments could put these to use with. So it's weird times that we're living in. Curious on your thoughts here. I just want to take a brief second and let you know about our sponsor today, Brain.fm. I love Brain.fm. I'm literally never without this app on my Mac, on my iPhone, wherever I go, because it just sounds so good. But it's not just about the sound. Brain.fm is science-based, science-backed, and it will help you actually concentrate better. So it actually works as fast as just 5 minutes. And I love the interface, and it just really has quite an effect. Check it out. As you can see, people really love it. And if you check the link down in the description, you get 30 days free.